Fox News. Breaking news.
Tonight, the fraud war just broke through another barrier. What started with stolen benefits, bogus claims, and identity schemes is now moving straight into the machinery of political money itself. The Trump administration has been making it clear that if a system touches taxpayer dollars, public trust, or election confidence, it's no longer off limits. And now on Capitol Hill, one of the biggest Democrat fundraising pipelines is now under the microscope. Then came the moment voters instantly understand. Question after question, answer after answer, one phrase repeated over and over. I plead the fifth. So what are they so afraid to say out loud? Well, this matters because this is no longer just a story about a hearing, a witness, or a partisan clash in Washington. This is about whether the same accountability standard now being applied to welfare fraud, healthcare fraud, immigration fraud, and identity fraud is finally being applied to political fundraising too. And that's a huge win for the America First argument that verification matters everywhere. I mean, just look at the pattern. USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins blasted out a Tuesday takedown poster showing alleged SNAP fraudsters from Louisiana, Massachusetts, Texas, and New York with amounts ranging from $1,500 to a jaw-dropping $7 million. Message sent: under President Trump, steal from the public and you will get hunted down. Now take that same fraud focus and move it into campaign donations. If foreign origin money, fake donor identities, or weakened fraud controls touch the political system, then this is not some side issue. This goes straight to election confidence, institutional trust, and whether Democrats built a money machine that nobody was supposed to question. And while we're talking about seeing big changes early before the crowd catches on, let me tell you about something that smart viewers should be watching right now. And if you can go back in time and you could buy oil before the world relied on it, would you? Of course you would. Anyone would. So why aren't you buying silver right now? The people who recognized oil early didn't just make money, they got ahead of one of the biggest economic shifts in history. And today a similar opportunity is unfolding with silver. Silver is more than a precious metal. It's a critical resource used in solar panels, electric vehicles, defense systems, AI infrastructure, and the massive industrial build-out that's powering the future. That demand story matters, and that's why I want you to check out Noble Gold Investments. Go to nextnewsgold.com and learn how qualifying accounts can receive a 1/10 ounce gold coin. Don't wait while everyone else catches on later. Now back to the story, because what happened in the hearing was even worse for Democrats than the headline suggests. See, here's the part that changes everything. The most damaging moment was not a complex compliance chart or some obscure financial rule. It was the simplicity of the optics. Congressman Jim Jordan cited committee documents saying ActBlue changed standards and was accepting more fraud, with a board member admitting up to $38 million in 2024 contributions. They showed signs of foreign origin. Then came the questions every normal American can understand. How much foreign money? How much from Russia? Did you weaken safeguards? And the answer was the same every time. And that's why these clips are exploding and implying guilt. Secretary Brooke Rollins: the Tuesday takedown, steal SNAP, get busted. These 8 fraudsters thought they could steal food assistance money and get away with it. From $1,500 all the way to $7 million. Justice is served. And here are some of the individuals and their mugshots. There's Tanisha, $35,000. There's Crystal Garcia, $126,000 plus. Cody Simmons, $126,000 out of Baton Rouge. Antonio, $7 million out of Boston. Oh, and then Ashley Trevino. Okay, she could have done better probably. $2,500, but yeah, she's not too pleased. And then Kiana Lissani, whatever, from Amsterdam, New York, $1,500. And Sonia Rajpal out of Schenectady, New York. And Omar Gallegos, $44,000. Yep, they thought they could steal from us, and they just got caught. So USDA is showing what enforcement looks like when fraud gets tracked. and name. Now Jim Jordan turns the same spotlight on ActBlue's CEO, asking about foreign cash, Russia, and why her legal team bailed. This from RNC Research. Check this out.
Your board chairman said ActBlue accepted up to 38 million contributions in 2024 that had the signs of foreign origin. How much fraud is too much fraud?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
How many foreign contributions did ActBlue accept?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
How much money did ActBlue accept from Russia?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Why did your entire
My Fifth Amendment rights of self-incrimination, right?
legal team quit? Your in-house legal team.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Oh, that was just the opening. After taking the fifth over possible foreign money, ActBlue CEO gets hit with something even more basic. Mary Miller asked whether the platform was told to accept donations even when a donor used a fake name.
Your company's memo states, and I quote, "If an otherwise legitimate donor uses a fake name, we would want to accept their donation," end quote. Can you confirm whether this is the advice that you give to your employees?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
So that wasn't a one-off dodge. Next, lawmakers press Regina Wallace-Jones on whether she misled Congress itself about ActBlue's fraud control.
Ms. Wallace-Jones, in 2023, I sent you this letter with 5 straightforward questions with a goal of confirming that foreign funds are not in our elections and that ActBlue had adequate fraud prevention measures in place. You replied a month later with a 4-page letter describing your fraud prevention policies and procedures that you had in place at ActBlue. But according to the New York Times, your response to this committee may have been false and misleading. Ms. Wallace-Jones, when you signed this letter to me, did you believe that this letter was false and misleading?
On the advice of my counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ms. Wallace-Jones, before you sent this letter, did you believe, was it brought to your attention that this letter that you sent me was false and misleading?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Well, I think it's important for everybody here to know that according to the New York Times, you've been aware for quite a while that the response you made was likely false or misleading. Did you ever consider correcting the record for this committee when it was brought to your attention that your letter to me was false and misleading?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to the attorney-client privilege and my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
It's pretty interesting. So now you're following the advice of your legal counsel, but you didn't when they warned you that your letter to me was false and misleading.
Unbelievable. So after refusing to answer questions about potentially false response to Congress, the next question gets even sharper. Jim Jordan asks point blank whether ActBlue weakened its fraud standards to help Democrats.
And we won't keep you here all day, but let me just do one more. Did you weaken your fraud standards to help Democrats?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Yeah. So she pleads the fifth again, and Jordan follows up with a paper trail. Up next, he lays out the internal document showing ActBlue relaxed standards while millions of donations showed signs of foreign origin.
Second, the documents the committee obtained did not square with Ms. Wallace-Jones' response to Congress. We had one ActBlue employee who, in an email, said, changes we have made over the last year have already meant we're accepting more fraud. So there was already some fraud. They changed their standards so they were accepting more fraud. ActBlue board member Kimberly Peeler-Allen admitted up to, quote, $38 million in ActBlue contributions in 2024 had signs of a foreign origin.
So he puts the numbers in internal emissions on record. Now Democrats switch to defense mode with Terry Sewell trying to turn a fraud hearing into a race smear against Republicans, of course.
Over and over again, Donald Trump's Department of Justice has harassed black women with bogus lawsuits. We should not forget the harassment of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, Lisa Cook, the harassment of the New York Attorney General Tish James, and their harassment of our colleague, New Jersey Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. So it is not surprising that this Republican-led committee is now attacking ActBlue and its CEO, Ms. Wallace Jones.
The race card. So after the deflection from Sewell, let's shift to the bigger cleanup in Washington. President Trump now ordering the immediate downsizing of intelligence bureaucracy, with Bill Plute brought in to start firing the deep state. Trump has instructed incoming acting director of national intelligence, Bill Plute, to immediately start firing and downsizing the deep state. Let's go. I have named Bill Plute to be acting director of national intelligence, reverting staff to their home agencies. At the same time, looking for a permanent ODNI nominee with experience in national security.
Pulte as the acting director of national intelligence. There's been a little bit of a pushback from some Senate Republicans. Why do you think, Mr. President, he's the best person for the job?
Well, he's very smart. He's a person who's got high integrity. He's done a phenomenal job at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You probably have $1 trillion in value there. When he took over, it was much less. And I guess I'm responsible for that, too, because everybody wanted me to sell it in my first term for 10% of what it's worth right now. If I would have sold it, we would have lost $900 billion. We would have lost, think of it, it's probably worth $1 trillion. And I was offered, people want me to sell it at $100 billion, a very small percentage of what it's worth now. So, and he built it up a lot, did a great job. And it's an acting position, it's not a permanent. He's not going to be permanent because, I don't think he'd want to be permanent. But he's a very smart guy, and he may find out some things about the rigged elections, et cetera, et cetera. I think he'd like to do it. I think he wants to do it very much, got a lot of energy. But he'll be very good. Again, it's not a permanent position.
Right.
We're interviewing people right now, but it's somebody just to take it over for a little while.
Does he have the necessary, in your view, Mr. President, the necessary national security experience to take on that position?
Well, I do, and I think he does, actually, because he's smart. Because a lot of national security, I wasn't greatly experienced in national security, and I think I've done a really great job with it. A lot of people would say that I've ended 8 wars and soon to be a 9th. I hope that works out, too, Frankly, but...
So what does it really mean, taken all together? It means that the fraud crackdown has entered territory Democrats treated as protected ground. For years, the public was told to accept that the experts had it covered, the platforms had safeguards, and the gatekeepers were doing their job. But if a fundraising giant is being asked about foreign origin warning signs, fake name acceptance, and whether fraud standards were loosened to help Democrats, then the issue is much bigger than one executive protecting herself legally. It means the Trump-era demand for auditable systems is spreading, and every transaction should be verifiable. Every institution should be accountable. Every mechanism that touches elections should face scrutiny. That is the real turning point here. The wall between fraud enforcement and political infrastructure is starting to crack, and the left looks absolutely terrified. And that panic, it was obvious when Democrats started reaching for the oldest play in the book. Instead of calmly answering the fraud questions, Democrat Representative Terry Sewell tried to turn the hearing into a racial attack accusing President Trump's Department of Justice of harassing black women with bogus lawsuit. See, that tells you everything. When the facts get dangerous, the deflections get louder. But the American people are done with protected classes, protected systems, and protected machines that never seem to face real scrutiny. If SNAP fraud gets prosecuted, if healthcare fraud gets investigated, if immigration fraud gets exposed, then political donation systems should not get some sacred exemption. That's the common sense standard that President Trump and congressional Republicans are bringing back to Washington. So share this report. Subscribe to Next News. Drop your comment below. Yes or no? Should every political donation platform be fully audited for foreign money, fake identities, and fraud controls? Let's have a conversation. And let's get you connected with the Next News Network. We set up this telephone number just for you. Thousands of patriots have already texted the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. We're cutting out the middleman. We're getting the notifications sent directly to you because I've seen what you have written in the comments. I don't get notifications. I can't find you on YouTube anymore. Well, those days are over. And that is why when you text those words to that number, we will send you a message every night to make sure you get the news that you rely on. And celebrate America 250 with the Next News Network right here at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com or at the merch shelf below this video.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.